Good evening, all of you. So far, we have discussed a lot about what language is, what pronunciation is, what intonation, and so on and so forth. But today, we have to discuss why our children or even some elders are not able to speak English well, despite their formal education. The reasons are many and varied. Actually, one, if you observe how we have learned our mother tongue and how we are learning the other tongue English, you find a lot of differences. In our mother tongue, we have never tried to learn language in parts. The language is not grammar, language is not pronunciation, language is not vocabulary, language is not structures, language is not functions. Language is something more. Language is discourses. Language appears in discourses in many forms. There may be dialogues, there may be poems, there may be conversations, there may be dramas, there may be novels, there may be novellers, or there may be quizzes, there may be puzzles, and so on and so forth. So it is impossible to master all the language or all the language items, even if you work hard, so hard throughout your life. So what should we do? We should attain some communicational competency in English. That is, we have to know the language. It is not enough if you know about the language. That means know the language means you are able to speak, read and write a language, especially you are able to speak a language. But you may not know about the language means you may not know its grammar, its other prosodic features, this and that. You may not explain what a verb, what a noun, and what a noun phrase, and this and so on. These are the factors which we have to learn once we have acquired the language. That's why in the initial stages, you should try to concentrate on acquiring or knowing the language instead of knowing about the language. The fault with the present system is, even in the standard schools, in the British Council or whatever it is, they are teaching the parts, just like grammar, pronunciation. Even in pronunciation, they begin from the phonemes instead of teaching the words as a whole. Even though we teach the phonemes in isolation, there is no guarantee that you pronounce the words correctly. That's why you have to teach the pronunciation of a word instead of a single phoneme. That is some grammarians, not grammarians, the linguists are talking about. So now we should move from the part to the whole. That means if you listen to a story, you can understand the story and you can understand the message. You can understand the pronunciation, you can understand the vocabulary, and even you can understand grammar also. But if you teach from item to item, it is rather a boring one, and there is no guarantee that the child can never acquire the parts. No, you may acquire it in parts, but it doesn't have. I know many persons who know a lot of grammar, who know a lot of vocabulary, they can't speak well. But I know many persons who speak very well, or they don't know anything about grammar. So, I feel that a person who speaks better English than the person who has learned a lot about grammar and also vocabulary is much better than the person who has a PhD in English but is not able to speak well. So, that means that this fellow has not acquired the language. This fellow has acquired the language. So, how to acquire a language? We have to learn it in natural circumstances. We have to learn it in the context. We have to learn it by listening to the discourses. Because these days there are many things which are available to make you speak English. You can listen to the podcasts, you can listen to the YouTubes, you can listen to the stories. Yes, there are many things. You can listen to the conversations on TV. You can follow many speeches on the YouTube. So when you listen to these things, you will develop the communicational competency Of course, if you are a student, why can't you participate in the debate and elocutions? And participate and may not get the prizes, but you will get a lot of exposure to your speech practice. So even in the debate and elocution competition, most of the students depend on their teachers, they learn the item by heart and start trying to use it in the speech. So it doesn't give you an impression that you are speaking, just it gives the impression that you have learned it by heart and produced it in the verbatim. And just it is not at all a speech. A speech must be lively. You must use it. You must use your simple words. With the limited vocabulary you can speak back. You can make your point whole. So that is what we needed. So a person can speak very well using his limited vocabulary without knowing any grammar. One can speak good English. Good English means his English is intelligible to both native and non-native speakers. You don't need to use a lot of vocabulary. You don't need to use difficult vocabulary. You don't need to highly correct grammatical sentences. If the context needs, you may use even informal English also. Of course, if you want to make good formal speeches, then you need some formal training, and that also comes by experience and exposure to the things. If you listen to a formal speech by a speaker, you know what to use and what not to use. Everything cannot be taught. You have to learn from the experience, the living experience. Only then can you understand and use English well. So for this, try to concentrate on the whole language philosophy. That means move from the whole to the parts, not from the part to the whole. For example, if you listen to a narrative, you listen to the many grammatical items indirectly, not directly. You listen to a wonderful vocabulary, not directly, but you understand the meaning of that story from the context. Even though you don't learn many words, you can guess from the context. The guessing from the context is more important in the learning or acquisition of a language. With this, I would like to take care of you. Thank you very much for watching our channel.